What's going on, guys? Art Dude Sas here. You can just call me Sas. Hope everyone is having a amazing day. Today's art topic is focused on myself and why I draw from reference as an artist and why I consider it not cheating. Artists, no matter the variety or skill level, use references to some degree at some point in their lives. Even the artists who draw solely from imagination are only able to utilize that skill because of exhaustive studies they have undertaken to build up that image library in their head. A sculptor knows how to sculpt every feature on the human head and body because they have studied and pored over every piece of knowledge on bones, muscle fibers, and general anatomy. An artist knows how to rotate a box in 3D space because they have drawn that box in every single form and every single angle in perspective and learned from someone who has drawn the same thing. Looking at something and drawing it is the basis for the very foundation of art. We copy what we like and seek to emulate the same strokes, same curves, the same essence as the object we choose to observe. How else would teachers teach how to draw, or how else would we learn anything without something to reference? Imagine trying to learn the alphabet or following a cooking recipe without words to read, without letters to look at, without someone to teach you these concepts. It would be completely impossible. Using a reference is not cheating, and those who seek to discourage artists are ignorant themselves to the art process and the process of education in general. Would you call a chef who follows a recipe not a real chef? Would you call a teacher not a real teacher because they use pre-made worksheets and educational content they did not come up with themselves? Would you call an artist who performs portrait sketches on the streets not a real artist because they draw a portrait exactly to form and not from their head? Do not listen to those who seek to discourage you or others from using references in your art. The greatest artists on this planet all have used references down to the finest detail and tools to help them achieve these types of standards. Renaissance artists used drapery patterns over and over again to help them save time through the technique of tracing on what was called cartoons, which are large sheets of paper. They would start with a drawing on paper, then they would place another sheet covered in black chalk in between the first piece of paper and the canvas, and they then would use a stylus. Through the use of pressure, the drawing would be transferred over, and these would be used as either a straight copy or a sort of improvisation of the original. These artists would also use curved mirrors and special reflective devices to capture the degree of realism you see in these drawings and paintings. There's a thesis called the Hockney-Falco thesis, which purports that the advanced accuracy and realism in the early Renaissance era is primarily because of optical aids. These optical aids would be things such as the camera obscura, camera lucida, and curved mirrors. The theory is that these devices are responsible for the increased detail in paintings and drawings rather than solely technical skill and artistic technique. Next time someone tells you that using references is cheating and no quote-unquote real artists use them, ask them if they think that the masters of old were not real artists because of the tools they utilized. Now, why do I solely rely on references in my art and not a combination of both reference and imagination? I am not a very creative person in any aspect of my life, which is a sort of irony that is not lost upon me. Even as a kid, I preferred video games to daydreaming, exploring worlds made by others, as their ideas seemed so much more creative and impressive than mine. This is why I prefer manga to written word, as I can see the world the author has drawn rather than having it described to me. I find it very hard to visualize or remember any sort of detail of any kind, even when explained to me in detail. A book can describe in perfect detail an environment or character, and I can try my hardest to try and visualize its character, but all I would come up with is a very vague image and idea in my head that I would soon forget. I can interact with a piece of media such as a beloved character or location for years, yet if you asked me about it, I would find it very hard to describe them. My memory, both long-term and short-term, isn't that fantastic either. Something exciting would happen at the start of the week, and you can ask me the details a couple of days later, and I would struggle trying to remember that exact event. That is why I use references to draw, and I never draw from imagination. I feel my creativity shines through the use of pictures I choose to draw, and more importantly, how I utilize my pencil marking techniques to shade objects. Despite rendering a finished sketch taking the most time, the maximum enjoyment I get is from shading and trying to replicate backgrounds with a limited toolset. Forcing myself to use nothing but the default pencil and my skill, I can brainstorm and experiment in ways no other artist can, and it's helped me push my skill level and critical thinking to the next level. I want to take a pre-established piece of work and transform it on my own through my own unique lens of the world and through the limitations I set upon myself. Limitations breed creativity and innovation, and I hope that shows in my artwork despite how others may view it as quote-unquote ugly, quote-unquote cheating, or quote-unquote non-creative. I draw only to improve, day after day, week after week, month after month, and references help me do that. The more I build up my visual library, the more I'll be able to utilize when drawing unfamiliar subjects, or when I eventually branch out from humans into more cartoony, creative endeavors. So, the next time someone tells you that references are cheating or that you are not a real artist, do not pay them any mind and continue to do what you want to do. If the old masters were okay with using all sorts of techniques to achieve stunning accuracy and realism, you should be as well. My name is ArtDude Saz. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I hope all goes well on your art journey.